the devil is in the detail. And she, with her glasses, like, devil is in the detail. And that has never been more true than in our industry. It's like that thing you will overlook, or that feeling you had when you're like, did I think about, if you don't focus on it, it'll be that one thing that will bring you down or come up.
My fellow CEOs, karibuni sana to another class. Form ones, karibuni sana. If you're just joining us, this is your first episode. Usijui umekuwa wapi, but box yako unaweka pale kando, tutakuonesha dom baadaye. Like we keep saying, this space ni class. We're here to learn. Today we have an amazing teacher. But first of all, this month of March, we're celebrating women. So we're just going to be having women CEOs with us, teaching us. Actually, not this month, this whole year. Yeah, because I think last year, 2020, Natuli agree, 2020 at WSAB, but 2020 marked 25 years since the Beijing conference. And there have been remarkable changes, remarkable improvement in the way women live, and we've changed a lot, things that we used to take for granted. And so this month of March and this whole year, we're celebrating women entrepreneurs. And today we're in a beautiful space in Kayana, where it's a community of women in business, where they meet and they help each other from ideation all the way to a startup. It's just my space, like my kind of space. Kidogo nafikiria ni change gender, because it's beautiful, because they meet here, they have workshops, they have facilitators who come and talk to the ladies, and they just develop their businesses. We're going to hear more about Kayana later on, but they have amazing products. They even have magazines, publications for women by women. And today we're going to discuss a business that I am so scared of. I think it's one of the most brutal businesses out there. I don't know how she does it, because she's in the events business. And mimi kama kuna biashara naogopa ni hiyo. I mean, she must have a backbone. Her name is Melissah. She will introduce her second name. Hiyo jina yake nimeogopa kuisema. And karibu sana, Melissah.
Thank you.
Hi. You well?
Yes, I'm good.
First of all, thank you. You'll be our teacher for today. We can't wait to learn from your experiences. First of all, events of all businesses. Akinogopanga events. I remember once talking to a gentleman who does events, and they told me the first thing you invest in is a fast car, because you need to get away from the space very fast before suppliers get a hold of you. So is your car really fast?
No, actually, I believe the opposite. You need a car that has space. Because you're constantly like stacking up things in your car. So my car is definitely a spacious car because of all the things it has to carry. Yeah. This
is me genuinely, because in our world of production and covering live events, so I've done a lot of events. I am mortified by events. I am scared of events. Are you even making money from events? By the events scare me. How is that industry?
It's cutthroat. Like, no word of a lie. It's cutthroat, high action. In fact, some would even describe it as people who are in it suffer from battered wife syndrome. You're constantly battered, but you're still in it. But the highs are high. And the lows, just like any other business, are low. So
that word, cutthroat. Unfortunately, as we're celebrating 25 years after the Beijing conference, one of the things that has really come out is that with women thrive in different spaces as compared to men. So as men, we made this whole business world very cutthroat. So how do you cut through such a business? And in your own space, in your own company, urban events, like how are you creating an atmosphere that women can thrive? Or maybe we need to find out, what do you mean by cutthroat?
Cutthroat has, there's many aspects of it. But just breaking into how do you differentiate yourself? I think if I understood your question correctly, I found that most of what the women, let me speak for myself. I found myself gravitating more towards the design and decor aspect of things, concept, and basically creating the concept and then executing it. I don't know how it is for you. I can see you're married. I know you're married.
Yes.
I know when it comes to when you're moving into your home, who's likely to have the look and feel, like buying into it?
yangu tu ni rent.
Thank you. So that tends to also be very strong in the events industry. You'll find that a lot of people who do a lot of the creative design in terms of the look and feel have really come out to be more of ladies. Why? Because we really love the details, the little cute things that most times men won't have time for. Not to say that there are none who are doing design and decor, but they're not as many.
Right.
So that's one of the ways we've cut a niche for ourselves. So we specifically deal with design and decor, and design being concept, really thinking of all these little cute things that we'll put together to just make your event look different from any other. And then now the extra mile is the delivering on the concept. So that's primarily what we do.
Okay. How did you get into this events? Is this something you always wanted to do? Like, if when I grow up, I want to do concerts and events. No.
So, funny story. We've been in business. We turned 10 in January. 10 years, yeah.
It's amazing.
I don't know. After a pandemic, I don't know that it's so exciting too.
Well, for a business to run for 10 years, that's an achievement. Yeah.
So when I left formal employment, at the time I was 26, and because of the different jobs that I'd had, there's one that was very passionate to me. So I'd been exposed to the arts. Actually, while I was in campus, I was working and going to school. So at that point, I got exposed into a lot of performance, live performances, concerts. And because of that, my title at that company was basically sales and marketing. I've always been a person of the back burner. I'm like, don't show my face, don't,
Here you are.
And here we are. That's part of growth. So with that exposure, one of the things that I really grew a passion for was online, like music distribution. So 10 years, not even 10 years, that was like what, 12, 14 years ago. Okay, I'm exposing my age, But
I was going to get to that point because kuna pali naona unatudanganya. There's a disconnect.
There isn't. I guess I just started early. So,
okay.
And at that time, how people would sell music as an artist was basically you would probably have a gig, and this artist that I was working with was he was like already thinking out of the box. So a lot of what would happen is that he'd have concerts, and then while you're at the concerts, then it was one of those, do you sell your music? That was one of the things that I had to tackle coming into sales and marketing. And so we now had to create concerts for him to be able to, as an avenue to sell music, because then you have a captive audience. So based on that and just interacting with that brand, I felt like I had unfinished business, because from there I moved took a sabbatical, went back to finish school, and then now went into my area of study, which is marketing. So I tried to find a job within the marketing space. While I was there, I really felt the music distribution part of things had not really been addressed. And by and large, a lot of artists also hadn't understood how to get a producer and really, how to get a manager, yes, and really get the most out of it. Yes. So I then left my employment to try and tackle this thing that I felt was the elephant in the room. Right. And so I went inside the business. It was Urban Live. At the time, it wasn't events yet. It was just Urban Live. The plan was to start our online music distribution, so similar to like iTunes in Kenya.
All right.
Way before. Imagine, just try and think about that 13 years ago. Was anybody ready for online purchasing?
No. So forward thinking, oh my goodness, that's amazing.
So the market wasn't ready. And so I really struggled trying to sell that to artists to understand. And at the time, and I don't know, but I feel like it's probably the same thing. You feel that the only avenue of making money is concerts because it's immediate cash.
Yes.
So understanding that these endorsements, that your music can also be a tool to be able to bring you extra income was not the case. So anyway, that's how I started. Long story short, 2 years down, market still wasn't ready. And I people kept calling me to do small events for them. They'd be like, oh, we need your help, man. Can you come help us set up this event? Can you help us set up this event? So I'd do it just to make like extra cash because I was investing in this thing that wasn't making money yet. But then there was this thing that I also loved to do that was now making me money. I had to come to that decision 2 years into the business to be like, I either have to decide to deal with going to events full time and put this on the back burner because it's not the industry is not going to be ready soon. It was a hard decision to make. But at that time is when Urban Live Events was born.
Right.
So by that time,
Urban Live
events.
All right.
Yes.
So Urban Live, then okay.
So Urban Live actually the plan was later to get into events, but more concerts, so live events.
Live concerts.
So hence Urban Live, the
Okay.
concert side of things. We did handle quite a bit of festivals.
Yes.
As we moved into Urban Live events.
Don't be courteous. Don't be humble. Just name drop the festivals.
We've dealt with an aspect of blankets. We did work with Muthoni at some point. We've worked with, there's a festival we hold annually for the last 12 years called the Kenya Kite Festival. So we've done that and continue to do that. It's still growing, but the Kite Festival is more family-centric. It promotes fun and play within families. And then now moved into planning and mostly corporate. So by year 3, we now went fully into corporate as planners. So then when at about year 5, we decided to redirect, and as businesses grow, we decided, hey, we need to start creating our own products. You know, that design aspect of things. Yes. And you find nobody has it. So we started creating our own like furniture and things that would make an event look different. So we now started another branch, which was product hire. I know. So to kind of support what we're offering. And that's now what we've gone into. So with product hire, then grew the business further because now you don't only supply corporates, your fellow suppliers are also looking for these products. And then now we ended up now directly going into private functions because the demand then grew. So that is basically how.
I love the story that you just told us. For me, I think what I love most about how you work is you're not stuck to one idea. And I don't know, businesses evolve with time. You know, you started out as a streaming, which is, ulikuwa umeona mbele. I wish you had stuck with it, you know.
But it would have been for how long? Like another 13 years before people understand. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I'm still at the age bit. I still think you're lying. Yeah,
I can see my ID.
Are you by there to tutaitisha? Because what you've said is you quit formal employment, started your business when you were 26, and you've been doing this for 10 years.
Yes, so I'm currently 36 years.
Wacha tuulize tu wenye wako hapa hivi. Does she look 36? Sarah, it's okay. We'll go with it if you insist.
I'll show you my ID.
Okay. What did you study in campus? I know you mentioned it.
I did international business administration with a specialization in marketing. So I think now you know which school I went to.
Yes, clearly.
Yes.
But okay, at least I'm excited. It's not worlds apart.
No, they're not worlds apart actually.
Nini, entrepreneurship, is this something you grew up seeing around you? Like your parents, were they civil servants, were they entrepreneurs? Because I'm curious, because for you to make such a decision at the age of 26, then I don't know, is this something you grew up seeing?
I'd like to say it's generational because it's not just my parents, even my grandparents from both sides were entrepreneurs. I mean, on my dad's side, my grandfather was a civil servant for a while. My grandmother is one who ventured into, we have a strong lineage of strong women in our family. So both sides actually started off as entrepreneurs. The trickle down was my parents also started off in employment but moved into entrepreneurship. And here I am. Actually, all of us are entrepreneurs. Yeah.
Wow. It's funny. Every person I've sat with just to have this conversation, where we kind of direct our kids how they'll end up in life. And we never think about it, but kids are always watching, they're always observing. So you were set out on this path even before
I even knew. Yeah.
But something interesting you've mentioned about having strong women in your family, and maybe you can speak a little bit on that, because I have found it true. Like the powerful women, like the liberated women that I have conversations with, they had very powerful mothers or aunts, and and how you're setting that example.
My daughters. So, maybe pretext.
Yeah.
My father's side, my grandmother, my father's mother, who's my grandmother, was actually the first female mayor in Murang'a. County.
Royal family.
No. But that just tells you in those years just what kind of barriers she was breaking. And the interesting thing is having a husband who's not threatened by it, but actually applauds you to keep growing. I think to me that's powerful.
Yeah.
And just seeing it trickle down in our lineage. She's also like, they've both done a lot together, and individually and together, to carve out a name for themselves. On my mother's side, my father's side are more educationalists. They're more, you must read. Education sector is like really strong on that side. And my mom's side, she may not have gone to school, but the things she's carved out from Nakuru County are great. Like among the first women to buy the houses from the white people in Nakuru. She was among the first ladies to own a car in Nakuru County. So that, and then just raising her daughters, having both girls and boys, she really did play a part in really ensuring that they really owned their own. You don't just go to the table without nothing, you must work hard, you must be able to. She supported her daughters throughout to ensure that they're strong women. Now trickle down to now my mom, my dad. Yeah. So the combination was obviously going to be powerful because my dad has been exposed to a strong woman and strong man in the home, and my mom, strong woman. So putting together, raising, we're 4 children, 3 girls, 1 boy. Wow. And clearly, I can tell you, if you sat down with the 3 girls and also sat down with my brother, well balanced, because of just what had been said before. Yeah.
I've come to realize that a lot of us, if you grew up with a parent who suffered from low self-esteem, or they had the insecurities, they kind of transfer that to you. And are you the type of person that do you regularly just analyze yourself, introspection, and think, by the way, come on, Melissah, what are my insecurities? What do I need to work on? Do you have those moments with yourself?
So funny story. Actually, as recent as yesterday, I was having a chat with a friend of mine. Also, most of my friends are also entrepreneurs. I say you surround yourself with people like minds, right? Yes. And we were having a discussion about how imposter syndrome is such a big issue in our society, but more so even to us as individuals, because I think one of the battles we've had, and I feel like anybody can resonate with this, is not feeling like you have enough or you're up to the task to be able to handle. Like when you start and then you get there and then imposter syndrome checks in and you're like, did I bite more than I can chew? Did I just go too far? Did I, do I have enough? Okay, maybe these guys will just think I'm such a hoax, I feel like that's a constant battle, that thing that I've had to keep having to reinforce to myself. You are enough, you can do it. You really have to put yourself in a corner and give yourself a lot of powers to get through a lot of these things. So I think one of the biggest, I would say, is dealing with imposter syndrome. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yeah, yes, you have. Do you have, like, let me call them rituals? Like, how do you self-assure yourself? How do you get rid of imposter syndrome?
I think what I tend to do is to and that's what I was saying, pull myself to a corner. So at that point when I realized, because to be quite honest, when you start off as an entrepreneur, you start off being everything. You know how you become mama and a baba of the business. You're the accountant, you're the salesperson, you're the visionary, you're the, and it can, and it really, two things it does, it really makes your strengths like stronger, and you tend to really lean more on the things you're strong on, and then what you're not really, your weaknesses tend to now bring in that imposter syndrome really comes to play there, right? Having to constantly scale up and really step back, look at your weaknesses, grow. One of the things I have learned with time is to really identify what my weaknesses are and then hire people who are strong in my weaknesses. Because you can't be everything.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I really try to ensure that I don't replicate what I am in my stuff. Then we'll end up being the same people. We're not growing.
True.
So that's one of the ways that I've tried to mitigate that. But also identify what my weaknesses are and start to build myself. So if I need to join a course, look for people who are strong in that area that I try to put myself in so that I can, upscale or grow in that area. Because if you're not growing in your business, then I don't know.
What is the one thing as you were growing as an entrepreneur that you really struggled with and you really had to put a lot more time into?
Oh, people. It's true. HR.
Yeah, I keep telling people, I envy anyone who works with a machine. Working with human beings. Kwanza Kenyans.
So my staff, if you're watching, I love you guys, but it's the hardest thing to deal with. I think I am more of an introvert. I'm like more introverted than extroverted. That's one of the things I've had to grow. To as a business person, you can't be an introvert. That's one thing I've just come to learn.
Yes.
It's taken me 10 years to discover that, which is why I'm sitting on this table. You have to put yourself out there. You have to, and with that, there's growth. But the introvert side of things is you really just want introverts. You don't want people you work best with. Please tell me, send me an email with what you want. Yes. I'll get it done, But imagine that in the event space. So for me, I'll be in the back burner of things. We'll interact with you one-on-one. I will be good. Which is why for like working with clients, very, that communication, amazing. And for events, what I love the most about it is there's also a lot of like structure in it. I'm highly ops. This is operations. That's one thing I've come to discover. My strength is operations, which just means really you can end up being a steamroller. Like, hey, whoever is in the way, things must get done. So either you get in line or you get flattened. Having to learn that balance, because especially when you're the leader in the business, it can be being a steamroller doesn't always work. Collateral damage ends up being your people. So that fine balance between ensuring that you have to step back, get everybody to buy into what you're trying to do, and then now move as a block. That's the hardest thing. People. Managing emotions, people, that's to me is the hardest. I'm like, see, we're here to work. We just work. Here is the plan. But yes, so that has been one of the hardest things, but I've really grown. I've really grown. And if I look at myself, the stuff I had when I started, and now if they sat in the same room, they'd be like, sorry, she does what now? Yeah.
Oh, wow. Because here we're always talking about the journey, and like we want to know like practical steps like you took to. Was there coursework? Was there a book you read? Was there someone you watched on YouTube? Because I came, especially what you're saying, this leading with emotion. I came to know about it by listening to Brené Brown, So for me, that really helped. I don't know, on your end, I'm aware ilikuwa purely experiences.
Mine was purely experience. Hey. When the rubber met the road, I had to. But I think it was a combination of many things. One was, like I said, surrounding myself with people who force me to address my weaknesses. Friends will tell you, I don't know, but I don't think I especially, there's specifically one friend called Lucy who, a girl, if I can tell you, she's one who's worked on the emotional side of things, just helping me to be aware about certain things, because when you're highly operational, you're more structure, things must get done, timelines, deadlines, so that I've also taken on some courses over time that have helped me really step out of the business, look at it from a bird's eye view, and really just not from the emotional aspect of things, but be able to know. And that's what helps me to identify, I am really strong at this, I'm really weak at this, but how do these strengths and weaknesses play in my team? And how do I translate them? So I think I would say it's been a combination of reading books, a combination of basically interacting with other entrepreneurs. I mean, I've done, over time, I joined Synapis. Synapis is, wow, how do I describe Synapis? It basically just forces you, it's we call it a crash MBA. It's a 4-month program. And it just basically forces you to go through everything from one, like, what is your vision? What is your mission? Going back and looking at it over time, especially if you've been running a business, I feel like it becomes like a bloodline.
No, very true. Very true.
So going back and reevaluating your business as you go along really helps. So Synapis was helpful because the angle it also added to me was, a lot of times we feel like our faith and our businesses need to be two separate things, like how I go to church and how I present myself on a day-to-day. Need to be two different people, alter egos almost. I'm not saying being that person who's like super spiritual in your business, but in the things that we always look at. I mean, we've had situations, to be quite honest, where you'll walk into a company and they're expecting things like kickbacks.
All right.
That's an ethics. That's really, even in school, that's ethics, right? So forget even spiritual, that's ethics, right? And how do you tackle that in your business? How do you look at even things like pay to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, pay to God what belongs to God? That thing, why are you always on my neck? But understanding that you must be able to balance your business in that way, do what needs to get done. And the same way we say children are watching, your employees are watching. People around you are watching. So what will you be known for? So I think, to me, that's one of the things I've really tried to make strong. What would my legacy be? And if I passed on this business to my children, if they decided this is what they wanted to do, will they come and find, what you used to teach us as mom and what you're doing as a business person are two different things, So aligning those things, more so, especially now, I feel like even as a mom, I did it before and I've always believed in it, but more so as a mom, because I know I would want my children to one day sit in a room, and if they hear my name, it's with a good context. Yeah.
Wow.
So for me, it's what's the purpose of my business beyond myself, beyond feeding my family, beyond. It's what impact will it have on my families, what impact will it have on the people we interact with. Finding that purpose and living it out, I think, is one of the things that...
Have you found it? Can you spell it out, your purpose?
No, I mean, it is a journey. It is a journey that I'm embarking on. More so, I think, even fast-tracked by just last year, where you have to, those times when things... I feel like in the times when you've gone through like a huge dip in your business, it forces you, it's true. It forces you to really unpack everything and look at, especially all those things you've been sweeping under the rug. You have to address them.
Absolutely.
And if you've started the business because it was to make money, for money purposes, it's not gonna last for long. I feel like it's the passion that drives you. That if you love what you do, it's what will ride you through those waves. And even when you love what you do, I don't know, it's still difficult.
This is so timely, because just last weekend I was sitting with a group of friends where we share like our life's journey, business, where we're planning to go, and that was the what we were discussing. We're like, okay guys, before you open a business, you need to figure out what is your purpose or what will give you self-fulfillment. Then now open a business in that line. Because if you open a business purely for money, 10 years later, you're like, why am I doing this? I don't like this.
And even when you open that business that you love, 10 years later, you can, after going through a pandemic and still going through it, it's when you're having those conversations, it's what brings you back to your true north. Like when you go back into that, back to square one, vision, mission, objective, if it still remains true, then you know you're on the right track.
Melissah, a businesswoman 10 years ago and right now. Going into business as a woman and 10 years later, is there a change in the world out there for a woman entrepreneur? Has a lot changed? Ama tunajidanganya? Nothing has changed yet. The challenges you used to face then and now as a woman entrepreneur.
A lot has changed, let's be honest. Even like this space we're in, finding a business that's women-centric, that focuses on expanding and empowering women in business is powerful. That wasn't there 10 years ago. I think 10 years ago, maybe it's people like maybe KWF, was it KWFT?
FTP.
Yes, who had seen the potential in women. I mean, getting access to financing, for example, I believe like 10 to 15 years ago, you still had to go with that. Your husband had to come and co-sign.
Yes.
To get a loan. It was difficult to get any sort of financing. So now we have brands that are now expanding on or focusing on women only. Why? They've discovered women don't default.
It's true.
It's true. Like if a woman commits to something, she's seeing this through till the end. Why? There's always like a why behind. For me, when I started the business 10 years ago, I was not married. I did not have children. So for me, if I take a facility now, I need to make sure that this facility, one, if I'm taking it, I know what the full plan of it is, and to the letter. I have to make sure that it will be able to feed me for the next and educate my children and, help me to be able to be an able person in society. So having access to that is amazing. Having tools around us that are geared towards women businesses is amazing. Globally as well, we've seen a lot of people who are investing in a lot of the funding companies are also really looking towards women businesses. So it's amazing to see that growth and the support that we're getting as women in business. So a lot has changed.
What was that one night after an event you were like, okay, that's it, I quit. Like that. I'm sure Kukosangi, that one event that just, was an emotional roller coaster for you.
I think in events there are many.
It's every day.
More. But I remember that statement for battered wife syndrome.
Yes.
In the event space. But I can't pinpoint one specific one. You see the appearance, I'm just
I know.
But I would say, I think maybe the pandemic. Mostly because I think one of the things that also plagues our line of business or our industry, way before even, and I know we'd like to blame the pandemic on it, but I keep saying internally we had an epidemic within our industry, and that was undercutting.
Oh yeah.
Where people come in or somebody starts a closet business and they decide that they are an event planner. And so they'll offer low prices just to be able to get the job, you see. And if it's a price war, you're never going to win. In fact, we really don't engage in price wars because then you're demeaning what value we're giving to you, I think that is one of the biggest problems that exists in the business world. I don't know if it's the same thing in your industry, but I know it is for us.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So now the pandemic is here. One of the worst hit industries is your industry, the events, because now we can't have any more events. So what's the future for this industry, for your industry?
Only God knows. But I do know that the major shift that has taken place now is digitizing. All businesses are being forced to digitize. So I think it's the question of how do you digitize the event space? They're not going to be at the scale that we were used to. So how do you still create or give what's your competitive edge and the digital aspect of things. To be quite honest, I feel like we're still figuring it out as an industry and even us as a company. But I can tell you for a fact, a lot of what we're trying to work on is how to digitize the service, how to really digitize the service. Because now if you're not delivering through phone, an app, something that makes it easy for me to just choose as I'm in my office on the move, if you're not making it easy for me to make that decision, then are you really in business?
Okay. As we figure that out, let me just take you way back, because I've always in this class I've always shared and I've always believed that we set out our kids to succeed. And I'm just curious the type of conversations you used to have with your parents growing up, or lack of these conversations. Do you feel your parents set you up for success, for this journey? What conversations were you having?
How do I answer this question without getting into trouble?
With mom and dad. Especially as a girl,
Okay. Yeah. I think one of the things that is very apparent in how we were raised, despite being 3 girls and 1 boy, my dad has never, in fact, he's always raised us like little boys. He's never made us feel like we're any different from, in fact, I remember a story my mom keeps telling us that when she was pushing to have the last born, you're petitioning that tuongeze moja. I'm still trying for that 1 boy. And I remember the story that she keeps telling us is my dad asked her, which of these would you trade for a boy? Because me, I'm happy with my girls. So that's how my dad has always been. Proud, happy. I mean, my dad has taught us how to change tires. His son used to, like, if he get a flat tire, he'd stand on the side of the road and let his girls change the tire. That's the kind of guy that...
I want to transfer kuita kwa men's conference.
I know. So that's how we've been raised. My mom doesn't believe in excuses. She's a woman doing it. She's been in business, so get it done. What's the barrier? What's the problem? Blow through it. Actually, I find that my dad was probably more emotional, like kind of like he'd reach somewhere where he's like, whoa, my girls. And my mom would be like, what? It's what women do, get it done. So in terms of business, I think we didn't really have conversations in terms of how business runs or the challenges. I think we're having them now as adults when we go back to them for like, how did you guys manage running businesses in those years and raising us? Like, did you guys ever used to worry about finances? And now is when we're having those real conversations. Then I think we just used to look and see them. I know we used to go, my mom was in Gikomba for a long time. We were raised from Gikomba. And she used to import bills and we'd go with her to work and we'd sit there and just watch her doing her hesabus in her book. It was not digitized, but my mom to date, she can unleash for you the business records from her first year, till when she closed down. So just that, seeing how meticulous she was with record keeping and structures and things, my mom is like a perfectionist. So in whichever small or great, whatever she's in, she's always made sure she's attention to detail. That's been passed on.
And you picked it up from her.
Exactly. Yes. So it may not have been direct in that, hey, so here's how to run a business, I think it's how they lived their lives that made us understand how to. My mom my dad keeps making fun of her and he says how she's born Tao. How she was born in, him was raised in shags. So he keeps saying how she's like more the bougie chick. But she's never shied away from getting her hands, like there's nowhere my mom can't go and blend in. In the bougie world, she'll blend in well. If she needs to go in shags and get her hands, she will. So I think that's one thing they've taught us. Don't get scared to get work done. Whatever it is, wherever you are, give it your best shot. If it is, do it. So to date, if I go to Shags, I got married in Makweni. I go to Shags and I'm like, roll up our sleeves, let's get this done. Where did that come from? And then same thing that you get to employ in your business. So I think they did it more in life lessons than in sit down I show you. Yeah.
How are you raising your daughters differently? I mean, you've picked up the same style. I know they're pretty young, but...
I think the pressure is what will I impact on them? I think I'm also aware that understanding and reading more about businesses and like lineage and just how you pass that on, I would want to be more intentional with my children in terms of exposing them. My oldest, and I guess the other one is still young, I'm still yet to determine what her interests are, but I've really found my oldest is at 4, she's so interested in like events. She really is always like, Mommy, wow, was this a picture of something you did? Mommy, why did you leave me? Why didn't you take me? So that challenge has become like, I need to bring her out. She may or may not want to be in this line, but it'll expose her into something. So I think I want to be more deliberate in ensuring that they're able to be part of my journey. So and now what I do is on a day-to-day when we come home, we have this thing where we sit down and we're like, how was your day? And everybody has to go around and say what their day was like. So I'm being intentional with being honest and coming, and if they ask me how was your day, I'll say, Mommy, I had a bad day today, business was not going well. Something didn't work out, and she'll be like, are you okay? Don't worry, Mommy, you'll be fine. But it's important to me that they learn that there's good days and bad days. Yeah, hopefully in future it'll set them up or give them some shock absorbers.
The journey to success, for me, from where I sit and all the great teachers that I've had sitting across me, but it looks set like is how you were raised, then there's how you set your goals or your purpose, and then there's constantly investing in yourself. So reading books, talking to other leaders, investing in your business, and fitness and health and fitness. Is this something you actively do you work out, or do you check on your diet? Why are you laughing?
I'm laughing because I know whenever my husband is, he'll be like, what do you do? He's more of the fitness enthusiast. Yeah. Between the two of us, he's the fitness junkie. I'm more of the health and nutrition side of things. So I find it easier to, I think with just our line of business, finding that, carving out that time to constantly work out, and that I think to me, and then balancing it out as a mom, and like that has been a tough balance for me. So I feel like that's such an on and off process in terms of the fitness bit of things. But one constant is always, I think I'm very food conscious, like nutrition conscious. That I'd say is
why? Why?
Because it's my docket. At home. Well, most times you find the moms are the ones obviously who run the or dictate what's being eaten at home. But that's also from my mom. My mom has always been so big on how you eat, nutrition, balancing your meals. Us guys learned from a young age, like that whole thing for 70% of your plate should be veggies and then protein, and that we learned. I actually, from my mom to date, there's always raw vegetables and cooked vegetables. So there's always a salad and cooked veggies, and then the rest of your meal. And my dad is just, he had his way, he eats nyama every day. Him is the nyama guy, and that who is like, as long as there's meat. So that's how she's balanced it out. So he's very good with like his protein and veg. Helpful, because if you look at them now, they've also really kept well. So that's also gone into my home. Anybody who, my pals will always tell you, every time there's anything happening and there's a potluck, they'll be like, Melissah will bring the veggies. So we all know she'll be pumping them down our throats. So yes, I think that's been, yeah.
So the formula is, it's right there.
I know, right there. They say it's 80% nutrition.
Yeah.
I'm still yet to get to my 20%.
No. Like in such events, the number of steps you do.
It's true.
At an event, it's okay. By the way, if you can hack the 80%, I'm still trying to, that's my hardest.
I know, the 80%, but what about the working out?
I am more constant. The 20% I'm doing well. Well, after the last one, it has been tough sababu I have to wake up and go to the gym. So if she decides today I'm not sleeping, that gym is cancelled. But at least on the working out bit, yes, I've been more constant. Hapo kwa diet, it's okay.
What I found interesting thing is, most men are I don't know whether it's something you guys are brought up, but most men I find they find it easier to be active, and then I don't understand why men don't believe in walking. Like, you must wake up and run. Is there a thing? It's like a macho thing. It's not slow sport. It's like all or nothing. So.
But I think, was this on camera or off camera? Just how we were socialized, our society. So for men, right from a young age, weakness is not allowed, So you grow up knowing I have to be strong physically, mentally.
The toughest challenge.
Yes, because if I go somewhere and I look like a weak guy, nishatolewa kwa hesabu. Yeah, okay, cool. So there's this young girl who is 18 and they want to go into entrepreneurship. What are you telling this girl?
I would say do it now. Before I feel like life just gets more. There's more. The older you get, the more responsibilities come along. I'm glad I started early.
Yeah.
Because I was able to start my business within the first 5 years, but when I was single. So by the time the husband and then the children come in quick succession, at least I had time to focus on, because when you're starting a business, it takes a lot. It takes a lot. I mean, remember I mentioned you're everything. You're the accountant, you're the, that. And then I can only imagine if I was trying to do that when I had my firstborn. Not to say it's not doable.
Yeah.
I feel like start where you are. I think that's the message I would give. Start where you are, and you don't have to have a lot to start. Just start. I feel like it then starts to fall into place.
You also mentioned you are part of a community of women entrepreneurs. How is that helpful? Because personally, it's one thing I struggle with. I'm more of the grounds guy. Like I'll do the work. Like I'll be behind the camera doing everything. And so the day I started running my company, I realized, I have no networks. I don't know people. I have to go out and reach out and start connecting with people. I don't know, for you, or was that the case? And how helpful is it just to have a whole community?
Well, for me, women, as we always we have a passy, so like we always roll as a pack. I feel like, yes, that's maybe one of the differences between men and women is that we talk. We'll talk. That's what makes us live long, I think. And so in this, if I'm at the end, maybe step by step, if I try to remember, most of those friends had already started somewhere in employment. I mean, literally, I think we all left like within a span of like 2 years in succession. Like it was like a domino effect. We've grown with them and just seeing how the different businesses morph. And as we expand our networks, because the more you interact, like now, you're getting to meet a lot more people. Yes. Some stick, some pass. So those that pass, you pick something. Those that stick, you keep growing. So that's one of the ways that I've been able to just grow my network. Some have been through clients, some have been through friends, some have been through family, and some you just pick up on the way. And you wonder, how had we never met? And you find your friends are 1 degree of separation, it's so there's the ones you deliberately kind of pursue, especially if it's people a special skill or a certain thing that you're looking towards, mentors, things like that. And then there's others that I feel like you hang around where you want to. So like if you come to, for example, Kayana, when they're having a circle of women in business, you meet a lot of more people, and then you come to discover that you're not alone in this journey of trying to figure things out. Yeah, and then bounce off each other's strengths and weaknesses. So that's been helpful.
What's your typical day like? What time do you wake up? How does it look like? Okay, pre-pandemic. Let's say pre-pandemic. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's a lot easier to pin down. Pre-pandemic would be okay. Again, remember my children have come within the last 4 years. So that has also had a huge thing to play. But most times a typical day would start in the office by 8. So it's mostly 8 to 5. But as an entrepreneur, there's nothing like 8 to 5.
It's from when I wake up to when I go to sleep.
And as the projects lead. it's also a thing. So there are times you'll find that 8 to 5 is what I try to stick to. But then there's also that margin of error where there's if the family needs you, if the kids need you. Clients also, because you'll find, for example, if somebody is planning a wedding, they're likely to be wanting to plan their wedding after hours and not with it because you're working.
Yes.
So you also have to be a bit flexible. Same thing for most times in events, things start getting hectic from like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then Monday it kind of cools down before it picks up. So you have like 3 days to kind of. So that's sort of also there. So it's in between site, office. It's I'm tempted to me as the spirit leads or as the business leads. You have to be very. You have to be really organized in ensuring that things don't fall back from the admin side of things. I think that's one of the things I have to always stay cautious about, because then otherwise you're always at site visits, site meetings, meeting with clients. So you'll be in a lot of meetings and now balancing out the office work and still remaining as the visionary of the business is one of the things I have to keep balancing out. So I really try to block out at least even a day or two when that day specifically I won't take meetings just to try and catch up on work.
Thinking about it, the events industry, it's really hard to block your time for specific tasks. Because if a client decides we have to meet.
And this is the only time I'm free, and it's always an emergency. It's always an emergency. Yeah, so you have to also be flexible to be able to be like, in fact, my husband keeps saying, you're fluid. Like, it's amazing how you can just be able to, you had a plan, and then if things need to change, you just have to learn how to adapt quickly. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm not really answered your question, but because that's exactly how our days are. It's
I think why I'm in awe about you adapting is because I know for sure if you don't plan your day, like by tomorrow I know I'm supposed to do this by 10 a.m. then I'm supposed to handle this other task by midday. You know, for events, I've just thought about it. And events always go wrong. By the events and film, at some point, by the productions, film, making TV shows, everything just goes wrong. So it doesn't matter how much of a solid plan you have. So I'm just trying to, think how do you bring order to your world?
I know. Again, I think one of the things, and that's where I came to learn that my strength is definitely in operations. For me, if it really has to make sense, like we have to plan. And in fact, I keep telling my team, we have to plan because Murphy's Law applies the most in our field. So plan so that you allow yourself to have time to react. Because you'll always be you have to react to something. So you have to plan to react to something. So you have to leave a gap where it allows you some wiggle room to react. And then it also forces you to start thinking in the planning, you really have to think about best case to worst case, best case, worst case. And that's how we even structure our conversations with our clients. Everybody's optimistic. You come in, my wedding will be a beautiful day. Sometimes you end up sounding like the Grinch every time you're having the meeting. You're like, so that's the best case scenario. We also have to think about. So we always plan with plan A and plan B, and then have some wiggle room in between. So we make sure our plans are so watertight that anything that comes in, at least everything else is still running smoothly. Now you just have to address these 1 or 2 things. I think that's how I've learned to manage it.
My friends and I, we're always saying every single person should at least work either in the events industry or in our field, because things always go wrong and forces you to adapt really quick. So for me, I found that even in life, by the I rarely sit and complain. If something goes wrong, I'm always looking at, okay, so how do I go around this? Because I'm used to it in our industry, same as the events industry. Do you have a mantra, a tagline, something you work with, something that, I don't know, you sign off your email with, hapo chini?
Oh gosh, I don't sign off my email with it, but my team will tell you. And I actually got this from one of my my former bosses, and she always used to say, "The devil is in the detail." And she, with her glasses, like, "Devil is in the detail," and that has never been more true than in our industry. It's like that thing you will overlook, or that feeling you had when you're like, did I think about, if you don't focus on it, it'll be that one thing that will bring you down or come up. So I've come to discover that it is in there. So I always ask myself, with every event we're doing, I always ask my team, okay, great, this is the plan. Have you thought through the details? And they're always like, how did you not? We thought we went through everything. How did you see that? We're like, yeah. And there's always something we won't see. So I always say, the devil is in the detail. We always try to make sure we find the devil in that detail. Yeah.
And that's amazing, because it's the one thing everyone overlooks, the details, the small, boring details. And those are the ones that always cost you business, your career. Even on this series, Becoming CEO, one of the videos that has performed poorly is the video we were talking about systems. Because no one wants to watch a conversation about internal systems. But internal systems is what make a business or break it. It's the backbone. It's the devil in the detail. That's an amazing tagline. Yeah, I don't even think, naweza penda tu nimalizie hapo, because that's amazing. I don't know, maybe something you want to tell other entrepreneurs, other mothers, other people starting out,
I think
you can talk to them directly.
But before even I talk to them, I think one of the things I'd like to say is I'd really like to applaud you, because these stories are not being told enough. I think we had this conversation earlier where I was saying, one of the things that people do in business is it's almost like a culture. You must never look like you're suffering. You must never look like you're struggling. Hey, you can't look like you're ashy, or you must look like a diamond in the rough. Always shining. I really don't believe in that, because there's a lot of fake stories being peddled where you'll see your pal driving a good car, or you'll see me driving a good car, and you think, hey, that's how I always roll. You don't know what I'm going through in the back burner. And I feel like the story, if those back stories were told, they'd encourage a lot of people. So thank you for allowing these stories to be told.
Before you even continue, so if you're out there and one of your relatives is doing a business, wacha kumkopa. Tunaweza kuwa na gari mzuri, lakini biashara imechukua pesa yote. I'm currently reading Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, CEO for Nike. And what caught my eye was, at some point, he was doing sales of $8 million in sales per year. But he couldn't afford to pay for a dinner somewhere at a restaurant when he went out with a client. Because that's the reality of business. Yeah, so thank you for that. Thank you for bringing up. Yes. Support your friends who are entrepreneurs. We are not okay.
I keep saying we need our own, we need a self-help group where we need to decompress. Truth. What I'd say to anybody who's looking to go into business is be ready for the ride of your life, because you will have serious highs and serious lows. But it doesn't mean that you're any less or any better of a human being. I think if you don't try it, then how will you know? So start where you are. Just go for it. And I think to my fellow entrepreneurs, let's be real. Let's go and tell the real stories of because just like Phil said, that's what will help us to all just grow. Let's not have crab mentality. Let's just have honest conversations. I feel like that's where growth comes from. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Aki. Thank you for your time and honoring us. Class, how was our teacher today? I have learned a lot of things. So thank you again. All right. Awesome. So guys, like I said, we are at Kayana. It's a community. Let me just read. Kayana is a community of female entrepreneurs of abundance that have come together to move their businesses from ideation to startup. Aki, if you're a lady out there and you're thinking of going into business, just come be a member. You know, it's a beautiful space. Come work from here. You get to meet amazing ladies like our teacher today, Melissah. You know, yeah. Thank you so much, Kayana, for giving us the space, and let's continue celebrating the women in our lives. Asanteni sana. Tuonane next class.